This is a little change in scenery. I'm holding a butter knife with a Rode Wireless Go attached to it because I don't have the Garth Brooks, Britney Spears spin cycle instructor mouthpiece thing going on, so I can put this in front of my face because this is a very common thing people do is they'll use this mic on different podcasts or like just like Sam Sulek style, right? But you'll notice as soon as I bring this away from my face, listen to the difference. Hello? Check two. Hey, what's going on? Oh. You got to keep it in front of your face just to be able to hear it. So I don't know if it's just because I can't stand non directional vocals. Like as soon as you put it on your collar, listen, check two. That doesn't work for me. I need it up here. So you see what I'm saying? Bottom line. So the point is, I'm using the butter knife because improvisation is key, right? You got to put it in front of your face somehow, and I got butter knives lying around. So anyway, I'm basically setting up my road, my take on the road kit. And what I've got going on is the laptop now instead of the studio computer. I got my DA that I'm using, the portable solution that I basically come up with. RME, it's you know, everybody talks about RME. I had to check it out because it's hard to find anybody saying anything bad about them. And as soon as you open it up and plug it in and the freaking thing works and you don't got to do nothing, it's like, that was cool. You download one driver pack and then it's just loaded up. I'm on a Mac and everything just seamlessly is working and the interface is pretty easy, relatively easy to navigate. And, the instruction manual is beautiful. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. It's like, oh, wow. I see why they get great reviews, right? This is not a paid ad of any kind. I'm just using it, and I notice, I just tested a couple things through it. It sounds pretty amazing. So the RME thing is a great DA. This, what is it? I have the Addy 24 Pro SE. Took me a while to remember that. Addy 24 Pro SE. This thing is basically I needed something that would give me the best possible sound when I'm mixing anywhere. And you may say to yourself, like, that's a lot of money just to be able to hear the mix. I need every edge I can get when it comes to hearing because the better I can hear, the better I can mix. This is stuff mixers know that a lot of people will glance over. That's the reason I didn't go with like an Apollo or anything like that because, you know, the way you hear through those is murky at best when you compare it to anything significantly better. So I'm used to using Burl converters to listen to through on my playback, and those things ain't cheap and they sound great. I needed something like that on the road. So that's where I got this thing. Now, this thing doesn't have preamps in it. And the reason I didn't go with the baby face or any of those things is because they're not as good on the DA side as this is. And I'm also somebody who knows that I like different mic pre's that have different colors in them and things. Like I use a Neve 1073 mic pre. So my thought process is like, I need a good mic preamp no matter what, and I'll probably need some kind of compressor no matter what. So I came up with, at the moment, I'm testing it out. I don't know if I like it yet. This Portico 5017, because it was one of the only things I saw that's not an interface at all. It's because that's what I need because I want this DA. So I was like, I don't want an interface. I need a preamp that has a compressor built in. That was one of the only things I saw that does that. That's portable and little, and it's pretty cool. It's got a fixed attack and release time. It's set to like 2-to-1 ratio, and it sounds okay. It doesn't sound bad. That you're listening to it right now with this Rode Wireless Go, and we're about to compare the same mic through my setup in my studio, so you can really hear the difference. But at the moment, I don't hate it. What I do notice is that there's some noise in it, and it's like a weird high-pitched squeal. That's really what I'm hearing. And it was especially bad when I had the SM58 going, and for whatever reason, it's lesser with this, Rode Wireless Go setup. It's significantly less, but it's still there. I changed out the cables, I plugged it into a few different outlets. Nothing fixed it. It's still there. There's always noise and stuff. I'm kind of used to there being noise no matter what you do because that's what audio is. There's always some noise in it. It's just part of it. But try to make it as quiet as you can, and this may be a little too much noise for me. I'm not really sure where it's coming from. Right now, um, I got no reason to think it's coming from the DA at all. It's as soon as I take the preamp out of the circuit, the noise is gone. So anyway, I have no plugins to kill noise on, and I'm going to make sure there's no plugins in the studio either to kill the noise so we can really compare apples to apples. But this is with the compressor running, it's with the silk circuit on, it's, where the levels, the way I would typically run the level, it's not too, low, it's pretty bumping. So let's compare it, all right? Bottom line, I also want people to realize something else. Neve, he sold his company, and the guys who bought it, that's what AMS Neve is today. That's not, Rupert Neve had like nothing to do with that company. They bought his designs, and he stopped designing for them when he sold the company. So everybody who thinks that like AMS Neve is the real Neve and Rupert Neve Designs isn't, just doesn't understand the history. If you ever heard of G&L guitars, right? I own a G&L guitar. That was Leo Fender's company. He's the L in G&L. After he sold Fender, he made G&L guitars, and G&L is awesome. My G&L guitar probably plays better than every guitar I own. So my point is, there's a magic to when the people who are amazing and geniuses and brilliant decide to sell their company because the number's right, but they don't want to be a part of, like, a lot of times they try to stay on somehow, but it sometimes doesn't work out or whatever. But the point is, they never retire. The people that love what they do, the people that are amazing at it, they know as soon as you retire, you got nothing to live for. It's a really amazing thing that people think retiring is key. The people who think that are usually the people who never found their purpose to start with. When you find your purpose, it takes your whole life to find it. And when you do, what makes you think retiring is going to make you happy? It was hard enough to find your purpose. You found something you're great at that you love doing, whatever it is. You do it forever. You never give it up. Just like Rupert Neve designed new stuff. He didn't want to keep designing the same thing forever. He kept designing new things right up until he died. That, I think, is a much more healthy way to look at life. Is like, you do something you love, you do it forever. Because it's not work if you love it. Sure, it's work. Some things, there's always parts of it you don't love doing, but you realize that it's better to hold on to that, because once you give it up, once you retire, it's very hard to get whatever you did back. I know people, that retired that are miserable because they retired. They thought it was going to be what they wanted to do, or they were talked into it by a significant other or whatever who also wanted to retire. So it's like people want buddies to do things with. So they retire together, things like that. Ridiculous. It makes no sense. They're all miserable. Like, they all wish they held on to what they had. They wish that they didn't give up what they built, that they wish they stayed with it in some fashion. So I'm just giving you guys this. Anyway, we're going to compare this to the sound in the studio, all right? See you in a second. Hang on. Okay, now I'm in the studio. So I'm going to try to talk quietly like I did before, because that was something I noticed on that video. Also, I'm in a room that's treated now. I got a ceiling cloud. I got all sorts of treatment all around me. So it's going to sound a little different because of that. Another note, the preamp I'm using a BAE 1073 mic preamp. It's got no EQ on this one. The one I typically shoot my videos on actually is the 1073 BAE with the EQ on it. And I have a U47 that I typically run into that. It's a U47 clone. And then I run into my 1176 compressor. So right now, we got the BAE version without the EQ. It's the version that has no EQ. So I figure that's the closest apples to apples comparison to the Portico, because that has no EQ either. Then I'm running into the 1176 compressor, set to 8-to-1. The Portico is fixed ratio at 2-to-1. So hopefully it's as close as it needs to be to get a good comparison. I'm really just trying to see if the sound quality holds up. I expect there to be noise on both of these. Typically I run a little bit of noise removal stuff just to get rid of some of it, but in this case I haven't run any of it because I'm just really want to see what's there. So you're getting the real raw audio just with those two things. I also typically run like a little bit of a limiter just to make sure I don't clip nothing. And I run a de-esser. In this case, there's no de-essers, none of that, because I don't want to add anything that's going to mess with the sound. I don't think that would be helpful for a test like this, so bear with me. Anyway, I'm going to determine after I listen what the difference is, but I hope this is, something helpful for you guys, because if you're looking for something to take with you on the road, again, not a paid ad, not sponsored, none of that stuff. I was looking for what could I take. That Portico thing is so small and portable. It's like, it's a little tiny thing. You throw it in a backpack. I mean, really small. You don't need a rack, but again, the 500 series stuff does sound appetizing. So if the Portico holds up, I may not need it, but we'll see. All right, so let's compare this, which this is stuff I would not take with me, especially, my favorite BAE 1073 with the EQ on it. I ain't taking that with me. It's too much risk taking that with me. Also, the Burrow converters, it's like bringing a house with you. They're so heavy. So I ain't taking those, So the bottom line is I got to come up with another way. Hopefully this does it for me. So let's compare the audio in a second, and then I'll end this so we can really get to the bottom of it. I'm curious what you guys think too. Okay, my initial thoughts. There's that ridiculous noise thing that I hear that's still there, and it's not the same as just noise that exists on the other thing through the BAE 1073 into the 1176 in the studio. It's just not the same. It's a thing that's a weird noise that I don't like, as opposed to a normal amount of noise that's always there in the circuit design and everything. Like, it's not the same. I also notice the 1073 style preamp has that thing that I love about it, which is this saturation that comes with hitting it kind of hard that I like. It just sort of thickens it and gives it a little bit of, saturation. That's cool. I don't know. Whereas the other thing, the Portico, super clean. That 5017, no matter what I did with the gain and compressing it as hard as I could without, getting to a point, because it's a fixed ratio 2-to-1, so you can't really get the same thing you can get out of like an 1176. So I'm not saying you can, but what I'm really saying is, no matter what, it sounds good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's better than just using any probably built-in preamp on anything. Because that's the thing. Preamps are very good today, but let's not fool ourselves. Every bit counts, and I don't think the preamps built into interfaces come close to what that thing is, but that sound is killing me. So if that sound is a part of the whatever, then I don't agree that that thing is worth keeping. I think I should probably get rid of it if I can't find an outlet and a set of cables that won't make it make that sound. So I'm on that quest to figure that out. But barring that, it's clean. It does sound good. I like the compressor in it. And the bottom line is that form factor is tiny. There's nothing else that small you could put anywhere in a backpack like that I've seen that's just not an interface at all, just a preamp with a compressor in it. I haven't seen it. And, it's like $1,300. So it's not cheap, but for a little bit more, you could get like two 500 series, an API 512 and a 525, and you got a whole nother level of mojo there. So in my opinion, that might make more sense, especially if this noise is a part of that thing, no matter what. But let's see how much further I'm willing to go to figure out whether that's a part of it. I don't know. Right now, obviously, as you could tell, I'm using my U47 clone that I always use into the BAE 1073 with the EQ that I always use, and into the 1176, the same way it was set with the Rode, pretty much. So this is just what I always use. I've also got the noise reduction on it and the limiter and the de-esser, going on. So it's my typical setup, so you can really hear a comparison. Let me just show you what will happen if I take off the limiter. This is without the limiter. No limiter right now. Check 2. All right. Now this is without the de-esser. Check 2. This is no de-esser. So we're removing the de-esser. Now this is without the noise reduction stuff. Check 2. This is without noise reduction, without the de-esser, without the limiter. This is pretty much the same way. Like, this has the no effects, just like the other tests, so you could really hear the difference of what a U47 clone sounds like running through, that setup I just described. So now hopefully, this might help somebody else. I don't know. It might give you ideas on what works or what doesn't. Or if you were considering any of that stuff, maybe this helps you in some way. I hope it does. But I'm really curious what you guys think about the test and just in general, like, what did you think of the Portico 5017 compared to this? It has a totally different sound. One has a style to it that's I'm familiar with, and the other one's very clean. Of course, clean, with the exception of that ridiculous high-pitched, squealy, digital-sounding electric noise I'm hearing. So I got to figure out why that's there. But again, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Hope it helped somebody. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Comment, please. Helps a lot. Really appreciate it. No kidding. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.